G'day, my name is Valda Coolwell. I'm a Gurang woman. I come from Gladstone in the south central Queensland area. I'm a Gurang person, and my mother, South Sea Island lady, born first generation born here in Australia. So I'm Aboriginal and South Sea Islander. So I know what it is to be black in this country. I know the struggles that we've all gone through. Well, I worked for the federal government in a role in the PMG department as a telephonist. And in that time and era, to be black and working in those organisations was very, you had to hold on to your job. I had young children just starting out at high school, so it was very important that I hold on to that job. And I couldn't sort of jeopardise the job because I needed the money for my children to attend school and for general things, you know, that you need. So I was quite hesitant to join in the marches. Otherwise, you could be blacklisted in government departments. And at the time, I was trying to get a housing commission. And but I've heard of other people who were part of black organisations in the day, and they were blacklisted. My sister was one of the people because she worked as a secretary for a black organisation. And so you had to be very careful in those days, what you said, who you spoke to, and the things you did in relation to government, because you mightn't have the opportunity to get the homes that you wanted through a housing commission. And so later on I thought, no, we have to buy our own house and then we won't be blacklisted. Well, at different times they'd be marching down the street when I was on my way to work. And in my work, we worked different hours. We were sort of shift workers. So I'd often come into town if I knew they were marching to sort of support them and listen to the crowd reaction. And the people in the marches knew who I was, and they'd often sing out, "Auntie Valda, come and join us." And I'd look back at them and shake my head because I was frightened. You know, you're frightened in your own country. That's not a good thing, is it? When Neville Bonner was going for the Senate, I'm not sure what year it is, but I was still at the exchange. I was there for 20 years, and that's a telephone exchange where in these days you don't need it because you've got your mobile phones, you can ring anywhere in the world, but in those days you had to go through the telephone exchange, especially for calls that were outside of Brisbane, not for local calls but other calls. Anyway, my supervisor came down and said, "Valda, these very important calls I'm giving you to put through." She said, "And you're the only one to take them." He's given me the list of all the people he wants to ring, and it's Bajelki Peterson, the Premier. So I said, okay. So I put him through to all the places he wanted to speak to, all the different other parliamentarians around Australia. And he was telling them, "We can't have this man in there. We just can't do it." And when he said this, well, I thought, oh, shall I hang up? Or no, I've got to listen to what he's saying. Anyway, it must have been around 10 or 11 calls through, and I had to be waiting on the end when he finished one call to get the other call waiting on the line when he wanted to speak to the next person, because he never had that much time, you know. So that's what I did. And I never liked what he said, but anyhow, I did what I had to do. That was my job. And I'm here to tell you the story of what happened. He didn't want Senator Bonner in there, but anyhow, he got in, so that we were happy with that. Uncle Don Brady, who was in Brisbane, and he was a minister. And they used to have their outreach in Musgrave Park with the Uniting Church, get all the people from the parks and bring them there and take them up to the Uniting Church at Vulture Street and feed them there in the back. And that's before Uncle Don went radical and joined the marches. He wasn't frightened because he went to America and saw what the Black Power movement was doing over there. And he came back with all that information for our mob. That's when they started marching. And they were strong, proud black men. And I honour those people, Don Brady, Don Davidson, Uncle Steve, and because they weren't frightened to stand out and make a stand for themselves. And then because of the marches, all those young people got in and marched, the Dennis Walkers, the Johnston boys, the Sue Morgan, her husband, there's a lot of them. And Cheryl Buchanan, another one of them. They were strong black men and women who weren't frightened to go to jail for what they believed in. And from that, of course, came all the benefits that we enjoy today, with education mainly, housing, all those things came afterwards. So I'm very proud of those young black women. I let people know about that all the time and that's all because of the marches, not being frightened to march. And when we had the news of the eyes of the world were on us during the Commonwealth Games, and that's when they made their stand. And I say to those young people, well, they're much older now, but you know, without you, we wouldn't have the benefits that we have that we enjoy today. Even though my heart was with my people, I was a bit hesitant to do the things like march in the streets. But once I left that place, and once that government was not in power anymore, I was quite happy to march with my mob on the streets of Brisbane.